What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Gaming Experiments. On today's episode of Custom Craze, we're gonna show how to make some cool variants with the X16, which is basically just a Glock. It's actually a Glock 45, but with a weird name. We're gonna go through all the awesome variants. There's the Gucci Glock, the Glock carbine, Glock 19, 17, and competition Glock. But right now, I'm showing my favorite one, which is the standard Glock. In real life, I don't care for a bunch of fancy attachments on a Glock. It is perfectly usable right out of the box. But I'm going to show you how to make it work a little bit better in the game. So, this is the standard Glock. I'm playing it on hardcore mode, by the way, just to show what the Glock looks like. It's not that great. It's like 4-shot kill, I believe. 3 or 4-shot kill, or I think it's 2 shots if they're both headshots. Regardless of that, I'm going to go ahead and show you all my variants, and hopefully you enjoy this video. If you enjoy this video, a like would be very highly appreciated. And if you want to see a specific Glock variant of your own design in this video or the next video, go ahead and comment down below your recipe for your Glock. I will attempt to make it, and we might have a fan favorite type episode at the end of the season. Alright, number one on the screen is the Glock 19. The Glock 19 is pretty simple. It's a nice looking gun. It is based on the Glock 19, obviously. That's as close as I could get to the Glock 19 with the Glock 45. I didn't do a whole lot to it, honestly. I just gave it a heavy-duty trigger, stippled grip tape, and frangible wounding. Actually, none of those are required. The uh, the only one I would suggest doing is the grip tape. A lot of people like to stipple the uh, grips of their Glock 19s. You could either do stippled or rubberized because they both look pretty similar to the Glock 19 grips. However, I chose stippled because it increases your ADS speed. I chose heavy duty trigger because it looks a little bit more like a Glock 19 trigger than the standard trigger does, and the lightweight triggers definitely do not look like Glock 19 triggers. Frangible wounding, I added just so it'd have different stats. I like whenever I have a variant for it to have a different stat than, of course, a standard non-edited firearm. It does decent though. You can't really tell a whole lot of difference, but it's a fun looking gun and it's fun to make. And I would suggest making one if you just want to have Glocks on each class. I would make one of these, and then every sidearm is a Glock. That's how I am. I like all of my guns to either be Glocks or 1911s on this game. So if you're like me, just make a whole thing, 5 different variants of the same pistol. All right. So we have the Glock 17. The Glock 17 is a pretty cool gun to make. Basically, all you gotta do is throw on the advantage slide. I went with advantage slide, match grade trigger, sleight of hand, and rubberized grip. Now, you can add extra stuff if you want, but that is the basic recipe for it. In my video clip that you were watching, I did pretty good against some bots, but then again, I did have the ultimate advantage.
I have the high ground!
Alright, we're gonna move on to the next variant now. Alright, next we're gonna go for competition Glock. This is just a Glock with some competition grade attachments. For the slide, I could have gone with the advantage slide, but I went with Vanguard Elite. I went with the Vanguard Elite because it looks, I don't know, it has the highest stats of any of the slides, so I felt like that was probably the best way to go. I went with the Tac Laser because it's the most professional looking, match grade trigger for very quick speed, the stippled grip tape for quick ADS, and sleight of hand for quick reload. So this is basically a race Glock. Alright, now we have the Glock carbine. Now this is a personal defense variant of the Glock, I guess. It's kind of like a PDW. So we have the GI Mini Reflex, which is one of the ones that is definitely not required for this build. You don't really need that one. You can pick a different optic if you want, or you could just use iron sights. I would suggest getting an optic though, because feels more like a rifle if you have some type of red dot. I went with 26 round magazine because it needs a higher ammo capacity to be a rifle. 13 rounds does not cut it for a carbine. I went with the X16 stock for the rear grip attachment. Vanguard Elite slide here again. I could have gone with a Vantage slide because it is also a long barrel, but I felt like the Vanguard Elite looked a little bit better. I went with monolithic suppressor to add extra length to my overall barrel. However, I went with the monolithic over the other suppressors based on its stats. The monolithic does suppress your sound, but it also increases the range that your damage is dealt. So I would suggest using the monolithic if you're gonna make this build. It is the cons of this thing are it's pretty slow to move around with. It's very bulky, but it is kind of fun to snipe with at a window. I've been using it to take out enemies from pretty decent distances. Honestly, I've been climbing up on the cargo containers on Shoot House, and I've been shooting people from that little from the other side of that overpass thing. So it works pretty good. I would suggest it if you want to have a sniper style pistol. All right, this next part is probably the worst Glock ever. It is called a Gucci Glock, and I have to explain why. So whenever you get a brand new Glock, no attachments, right out of the box, and you start carrying it, that's you don't need to add anything to it. That's called a stock Glock. It's just a standard Glock with no extra crap added to it. That's what most sensible human beings do. However, the opposite end of the spectrum is called Gucci Glocks, and that's when you get a Glock which is perfectly tuned and everything works magnificently, and you add a bunch of unnecessary crap so that it looks better. So I did the same thing because a lot of people like Gucci Glocks for some reason. So again, for the optic, I went with the GI Mini Reflex because that is my personal favorite based on aesthetics. There are different ones you could use. Uh, there's 3 different reflex sights you can put on this gun. I like the GI the best. For laser, I want a 5 milliwatt laser because it looks kind of bulky yet clean at the same time. Uh, there's enough of a laser there that you can tell someone has a laser on the bottom of the gun, but it doesn't look tacky, I guess. Lightweight trigger, it is a bright blue colored trigger, but it has higher rate of fire. So even though it looks a little bit out of place, it still works really good. I went with the featherweight barrel. It has grooves cut out in the slide where you can see the barrel through the slide, which is something that literally every single Gucci Glock that I've seen has. It is insane. And then I went with muzzle brake for the muzzle attachment. You could have gone with a suppressor or a compensator, but most commonly you'll see a muzzle brake or a flash hider or a compensator over a suppressor on a Gucci Glock. People will get suppressors, but in America, it takes a long time to get a suppressor. It's about 2 years or so, depending on how it just varies. You have to submit a form and you have to pay a fee to get a tag stamp so that you can then pay for a suppressor out of your own money on top of paying for the license, even though suppressors don't work that great in real life. And there are not very many suppressor crimes in the world. There's like 16 suppressor crimes a year. So it's pretty stupid. And most of those involve tag stamps or making a suppressor illegally instead of actual murders taking place with suppressors. So regardless of that, it's really hard to get a suppressor anywhere, but I guess it's the easiest place to get one is America. But point is, it's really hard to get a suppressor unless you're military. So most people just have a muzzle brake or a flash hider on their Glocks. I'm displaying a bunch of pictures right now of actual Gucci Glocks that have a whole bunch of crap on them that are actually very similar to my build. And it out of all the Glocks I tested, this one did the worst in my opinion. Lowest damage. It was not very easy to use. It moves way too quick. I don't know. It might just be because of I might be a little biased, I guess, because I don't like Gucci Glocks, but I did not think it performed that well.